Don't touch it.
That chubby left-hand hitter, Babe Ruth. That's a 1935 photograph. That gentleman standing right next to the Babe is Walter Antone Berger, better known as Wally Berger, who played with the Boston Braves from 1930 to 1940. And Wally now lives in Manhattan Beach, California. And Wally is with us today, a special guest on the Channel 27 Sports Report here. And Wally, that was a long time ago that photograph was taken. Was that taken at Siemienski Park?
That picture you just showed is taken in St. Petersburg, Florida in 1935. That's probably March of 1935 when Babe Ruth joined us there.
That was, by the way, that was on the cover of the Beach Reporter a couple of years ago, just prior to Wally going to Siemienski Park in Chicago for the 50th anniversary of the first All-Star game, which Wally was in. As a little bit of a history for you on Wally Berger, just so you know who Wally Berger is as far as a baseball player goes. I said he played for the Braves. He also played for the New York Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, and just a brief time with the Phillies. But the main things that Wally Berger is noted for is in his rookie season in 1930, he hit 38 home runs, the most ever by a rookie. The only time it was ever even approached was when Frank Robinson tied him for that record. He led the league in home runs in 1935 with 38, and he also ranks in the top 50 lifetime in home runs per at-bats. I don't know if you knew that, Wally.
No, I didn't know that one.
And we checked out his RBIs per game, which because you only played for 10 years, Wally.
Yeah.
You rank 35th in the history of baseball in RBIs per games played. So we're not just talking about just some ball player during the 1930s. We're talking about one of the real stars of the game. You played for the Boston Braves during that period, Wally. They didn't really have that great of teams during that era. Was it difficult for you being the really main power hitter in the middle of a lineup that really didn't score a whole lot of runs?
Well,
everybody recognizes that that chubby left-hand hitter, Babe Ruth. That's a 1935 photograph. That gentleman standing right next to the Babe is Walter Antone Berger, better known as Wally Berger, who played with the Boston Braves from 1930 to 1940. And Wally is with us today, a special guest on the Channel 27 Sports Report here. And Wally, that was a long time ago that photograph was taken. Was that taken at Siemienski Park?
that picture you just showed is taken in St. Petersburg, Florida in 1935. That's probably March of 1935 when Babe Ruth joined us there.
That was, by the way, that was on the cover of the Beach Reporter a couple of years ago, just prior to Wally going to Siemienski Park in Chicago for the 50th anniversary of the first All-Star game, which Wally was in. As a little bit of a history for you on Wally Berger, just so you know who Wally Berger is as far as a baseball player goes. I said he played for the Braves. He also played for the New York Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, and just a brief time with the Phillies. But the main things that Wally Berger is noted for is in his rookie season in 1930, he hit 38 home runs, the most ever by a rookie. The only time it was ever even approached was when Frank Robinson tied him for that record. He led the league in home runs in 1935 with 38, and he also ranks in the top 50 lifetime in home runs per at-bats. I don't know if you knew that, Wally.
No, I didn't know that one.
And we checked out his RBIs per game, which because you only played for 10 years, Wally.
Yeah.
You rank 35th in the history of baseball in RBIs per games played. So we're not just talking about just some ball player during the 1930s. We're talking about one of the real stars of the game. You played for the Boston Braves during that period, Wally. They didn't really have that great of teams during that era. Was it difficult for you being the really main power hitter in the middle of a lineup that really didn't score a whole lot of runs?
Well, yeah, they could pitch around me, you know. We were all singles hitters except me. And I don't know, I played in a big ballpark, so they weren't afraid to give me a good ball to hit. And I had the power. So I got good balls to hit.
Well, that's good.
I had some favorite parks in the league. I liked Pittsburgh, was big, long, but I hit good there, could see the ball good. In Cincinnati, I hit a lot. There was only 326 to the left field fence there. And the Polo Grounds, yeah, you walk in and look at that left field stands there. He said, "God, it's right behind shortstop. All you had to do is put the bat on it, and up it goes."
Did the pitchers always pitch you outside then in the Polo Grounds so you couldn't pull it down the line?
Well, they did, but I tell you what I did. I stood right on top of the plate. I forced them to pitch me inside. And they didn't like it when you crowd the plate because they want that corner. I was with Hubble in 37. I asked him about that. I said, I want that outside corner. You guys crowd the plate. I said, yeah, I had to stand there because you were pitching out there all the time, and I had to be out there where I could get a hold of it.
When did you first start playing baseball, Wally? How old were you?
Well, you mean professional?
No, just when you picked up the game. When did you actually start playing
Well, I
the
played in a sandlots like all the kids, but I played in high school. I played third in high school, Mission High School. In 1922, we won the city championship, and Joe Cronin, who was a commissioner, was
yes,
the American League president, he was on the team too that year in 22.
What city was this in?
San Francisco.
That's where you grew up?
Yeah, Mission High School, yeah.
At what point did you realize that you were a cut above the other kids as a ball player?
Well, I always could hit the ball far, I guess. I was always swinging for the long one, and I guess maybe they noticed all that, I think.
When did you get your first break in professional baseball, and how did that come about?
Well, it was, we were playing opening game in Mill Valley. It's across the bay from San Francisco. It was opening day in Mill Valley. The band's out and the little stands, and we all felt good. And I got 2 homers and a triple. And in San Francisco, Monday morning or Tuesday morning, they printed all the semi-pro box scores. And the general manager of San Francisco looked in that lineup there. He had a pitcher he liked. In fact, they'd signed him up, a fellow named Oliva. He said, "Who's this Berger guy?" And the guy hanging around the office says, "I know him." He said, "Bring him in." So I come in, and they put a contract down, and I didn't even read it. I didn't even look at the salary. I just signed it. I wanted to play ball.
Yeah. You get paid to play, huh?
I got paid to play. I loved it. So that got me going, but I hurt my back. And prior to going to spring training, I was trying to hit one a mile over a fence, and I hurt it, twisted it. And I went to spring training. This is 1926. I stayed about a week, and they released me. And the trainer, Denny Carroll, said, "When you go back to San Francisco, find a chiropractor and get your back fixed up." Well, I didn't have any money for treatment, so my mother says, "I know a chiropractor on Fillmore Street. Go see him. He'll give you a credit." So he gave me about 10 treatments. He said, "I don't think you can play ball anymore." I said, "Don't tell me that." "Oh, brother." He said, "Your vertebrae is up and twisted over. You can take 10 treatments at least to straighten it out." Well, he got it better. It didn't bother me, but I went down to a playground where we usually played ball. And a foul ball came my way, and I picked it up and threw it, and nothing happened. It didn't hurt. So I started throwing a little harder and harder, and it was all right. And the San Francisco Seals signed me again for 1927. That's how I got to spring training with them. And the funny part, Duster Mills is going to pitch the first regular pitcher is going to pitch the game against us, Yanagans, as they call them. And I picked up a Lazari bat. It was a heavy one. I said, "I'll take 3 cuts."
Tony Lazari.
Yeah, I said, "If I strike out against this guy, it won't hurt my reputation any."
Right.
And I hit one so far. And when I come up the next time, Mel says, "I'm going to knock you down." "No, Bush, you can do that to me." Of course, I know he's kidding, but I singled off him, and I got released that night.
Really? How come?
I don't know. I hit one 500 feet, and he said, "When we break camp, we'll try and get you a job."
This was in 1927 still?
Yeah, so I went home, and I checked in with San Francisco and said, we wired Bill Spees at Dubuque in the Mississippi Valley. We'll try and get you a job there. He wired back, says he has no record. We didn't know what he can do, and they weren't gonna throw any money out on transportation. They didn't know what I could do.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a high school friend up in Butte, Montana, and they wanted I played infield in high school, so they're looking for a shortstop. And this kid named Harry Morrison said, "I know a guy down in San Francisco. We'll wire the pool hall where they all hang out." And I got the wire, and I said, "How much you want?" I said, I get all the advice from these pool hall guy. Ask for $275. and transportation both ways. Remember, both ways, you might get stuck.
That's true. Yeah, you want to be able to get back. That's smart thinking, Wally.
Yeah. Well, I was advised that, and I went up there, and I played short, and they eventually won game. Then I used to read the Salt Lake paper in the library, and I see where Pocatello outfielder made 5 errors. And all the time I've been wanting to be an outfielder, and I said, geez, I could never make 5 errors. And I got a wire from Pocatello, wonder how much I want to come down there. Because I was playing, and that wasn't organized ball in the Mines League, independent ball. And I said, $275. I said, oh, we got a salary limit. We'll give you 200. I'll take it. So when I accepted by telegram, that's a contract, you know.
Yeah.
It is. So then I told the guy, paid my way up to Montana. He said, you owe us transportation. I said, take it. I got a month's pay coming. Take it out of that and pay my room rent.
Sure.
Take it out of that. I think I got back $16 or something like that.
So what happened during 1928 and 1929 in the minors? Did you have big years in the minors?
I went down to Los Angeles on a look in 1927. Yeah, they didn't buy me outright from Pocatello. And I got 3 hits, and I got 4 hits, and they bought me for $750, I think. And that was 1927. 28, I started with them. But I got the flu in September, and I was laid up for the rest of the season. And in 28, I had a good year with L.A. I hit 335 with 40 home runs.
That's with the old L.A. Angels, huh?
LA,
in the Pacific Coast League?
Yeah, with the nice park to hit in.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Was that the old Wrigley Field?
Wrigley Field, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been torn down now.
And then 29, what did you do in 29?
Well, that's what I had. 29 was the 40 home runs.
Oh, okay.
The Braves bought me for $40,000, I think, and 2 players, George Harper, an outfielder, and Delaney, a pitcher.
Never heard from again, right?
Well, Pell, George, they were good players. They did all right out in the Coast League.
Tell me about 1930. Well, you're breaking in then. Your first year, you've only been like 3 years in the minors, and they have an incredible hitting season that year, 1930. Was there a juiced-up ball that they used?
I think it was, because I hit some I said, I don't believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd hit them so damn far, and you said, I can't believe I'm that stronger, much stronger than when I started off down in spring training, it was in Macon, Georgia. We were playing Brooklyn. And Watson Clark, one of their best pitchers, a left-hander, they had talked me over in the meeting, even in spring training, and the guy says, Hollis Thurston says, he's a low ball hitter, but I pitch him high. So Clark pitched me one around the eyes, and I hit it the first ball I ever hit in Macon, 50 feet over that long left field fence, and I hit Clark, and opening day, he's pitching with 3 men on. I had a homer off him.
On your first major league game?
No, that was the second. We were rained out from the New York in the Polo Grounds. We were rained out. We played the opening game, then we rained out, and then we opened up in Brooklyn. And here's Clark, and I greeted him with a homer with 3 men on.
Was it another high one, or did he pitch it low this time?
I don't know where it was. I went over the right field bench, which I never hit over that way. Probably was a bad ball, maybe. But he got me out one year in a game, and he came over and shook my hand and said, the first time I got you out, you so-and-so.
You owned the guy, huh?
Well, it looked that way.
Okay, so 1930, you had that incredible year. Now, 38 home runs as a rookie had been unheard of at that time, and your great
Well,
year.
how that came about, Thompson hit 25, and they all ran to the record book. So this must be a record. Then they come across my name and said, oh, they got another guy.
There it is.
38.
What kind of a contract did you get that next year after your big rookie season?
Well, they offered me a 2-year contract for $6,000 and $8,000. And I said, I got a lot of time to think about this. So I went to Freddie Haney, who was a smart ball player and everything else.
The Fred Haney?
Yeah,
oh.
So I said, Freddie, you think? He said, you should get a pretty good contract. You had a great year. So we fooled around and finally got to $10,000. And I was anxious to get to spring training, so I signed. He said, we could have got a couple more thousand. We held out. I said, no, I'll take that and try for the next year to get more money. But I wanted to play.
Oh, naturally, yeah. A couple of these guys, like in 1930, even though it was a big hitters year, I noticed that one of the premier pitchers was Dazzy Vance. What do you recall about Dazzy Vance, especially in those early 30s?
Guys at the barbershop will tell you, they said, bring that Vance up. I said, I couldn't hit him. My two pitchers I couldn't hit was Dazzy Vance and Carl Hubble.
Two pretty good pitchers now. I mean, there's nothing to
you didn't have to be afraid of Vance. He'd never throw, actually. So he threw the ball about 95 miles an hour. But I tell the guys in the bench, they say, you told me about his fastball, which I heard about. You didn't tell me about the curve. He's got a big, wicked curve.
Yeah.
Why'd you tell me about that? And I said, Kid Vance, I said, well, you throw two fastballs, they're high, and I foul them all. And you throw a curve, it bounces up there. I said, why didn't you throw that third fastball and get me out of there fast?
So Dazzy was about as fast as they came?
Well, I put him in the same category with Lefty Grove and Dizzy Dean, you know what I mean, for speed.
Yeah.
And Hubble, his was deception.
Yeah, tell me about his screwball. That must have been, especially for a right-hand hitter like yourself,
well,
that must
broke
have been
away.
tough.
See, there was one he pitched down around your knees, broke down and away, and then he had one up a little higher that broke straight out, away from you. But what made his difficult to hit, because it didn't spin like a breaking ball. And it looked like a fastball until you swung, and then it disappeared.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Christy Mathis in this fadeaway, you know.
Yeah.
You don't see it. And I didn't want to change my style by, you know, trying to go to right or anything. I wanted to keep my own swing and everything else, but he put me in a slump for 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
He would put me in a slump for a few days so I get myself organized again.
There was another pitcher still hanging around in the 30s called Burley Grimes.
My friend, he's a spitball pitcher.
Yeah, he was still allowed to pitch the spitball then, right?
Well, he was a registered spitball pitcher because when that rule came about, he had the spitball, so they made him a registered pitcher for the spitball. And he had a good one. I used to warm him up. He was in the Braves, too, for a while. And they get a box of slippery elm every spring. And I catch him, and he told me this way and that way and that way. And I hit him pretty good because I hit spitballs pretty good.
Oh, yeah?
For a simple reason. You have to throw the ball fast. And I looked for speed, so it was...
But what would the spitball do? I mean, would it just break one direction?
No. Grimes could make it break away and down.
Mm.
And he told me when you warm it up with him, you go like that, then he'd throw it. And he wet his hand. He didn't wet his hand, but he put his fingers to the mouth all the time. So you know it's going to be the curve that time or the spitball or just a fastball.
Oh, yeah, just a...
He faked every once.
Yeah. How many other spitballers were still around in the 30s?
I think there was a guy named Mitchell, left-hander. He was not near as good as Grimes. Grimes was one of the best I've ever seen. I'm glad they didn't have any more, though. Grimes was mean, too. He'd knock you down.
Didn't dig in on him. Okay, now how about some of the players that you played with, like the one guy that comes to mind, there weren't a lot of big names on the Braves, but you had a classy shortstop in Rabbit Miranda.
Yeah, Rabbit was quite a character. He was a character. He was a show. And he slowed up. See, being a shortstop, you need more range. And he was getting around 40 years old. And so they put him at second base. And they got Urbanski from Montreal to play short. And there's a funny story about that. In the morning, Rabbit would go out to the ballpark, get the water hose, and soak the grass all in front of second base. So slow the balls down so he could move a little better.
Oh.
Urbanski would watch him because he had a weaker arm. No water my side. I got to get that ball fast and get it away.
Oh, I see. So they only wanted half the infield.
Yeah, he said, you stay water your side, leave mine alone.
Little known fact. That's great. That's great. Tell me a little about Wrigley Field during that era. And I know, like in 1930, you finished third. Hack Wilson, who had 56 home runs. What was it like playing in Wrigley Field in those early days?
I enjoyed it. There was no bleachers in the field.
Oh, there wasn't at all?
You had it out in the street.
Oh, the street was right back there.
Yeah, that was...
Waveland Avenue, right?
That's it, that was there. Yeah. That little tiny bleachers right dead center in the corner. And they had the bleachers in right. And since they had this here low stands out in the center, pitchers all started throwing our right sidearm out of the white shirts.
They had to pick up the shirt.
And later on, he put the seats out instead of there, they all started coming up over here. And you would lose the ball in the white shirts.
Oh, yeah. Sure, yeah. What, was the wind always blowing out in those days? I mean, I'm sure you've seen Cup games on the TV now. What's the biggest difference now?
Maybe we're different or lucky. We didn't see much of the wind.
Really?
No, that's Boston was windier, I thought.
Than Wrigley
East
Field.
wind. Yeah, Wrigley Field. We were just probably got in that time of year when it wasn't bad. Of course, if it blew out, yeah, there'd be more home runs. And I enjoyed playing Wrigley Field. I thought it was a good ballpark. Nice playing field.
Did you happen to see the 1932 World Series?
When Ruth pointed out there, that the one?
Yeah. Were you there at all, or?
No, I was probably listening on radio.
Okay. Did you ever hear any of the ball players talk about that, about whether he did or he didn't point in that 32 series?
Well, yeah, they figured that he didn't allude to that being a home run. I think he just waved his bat out that way. But I think he pointed out there because Ruth and the Cubs were riding each other.
Yeah.
For the one reason, Mark Koenig played with Ruth and the Yankees, and the last month of the season, Mark Koenig was driving all the runs in and winning all their ball games, and they gave him a quarter share, and Ruth read that in the paper, and he went by them, a bunch of cheap guys,
Yeah.
and they argued, right, he yelled at him, he yelled at them.
Yeah, there was a lot of rousing going on in that one. Dizzy Dean came up as a rookie in 1932. Had a great big year. What do you remember about Dizzy Dean as a pitcher?
Well, Dizzy did have a good fastball, real good. He's in that 90-mile-an-hour category, and he pitched you around high, around the letter. But he saved himself. He didn't try to strike everybody out. Only when a couple of men got on, then he let loose a little extra speed, and he gets you out of there.
Were you looking for that in a clutch situation?
Well, he never had much of a curve.
Yeah.
You could give him the curve. It was only a little, we call it a wrinkle, you know.
Yeah.
And he'd throw that once in a while, but his fastball, you had to lay for that.
That was a bread and butter.
His brother Dazzy had a good curve. I'd rather hit Diz than his brother. His brother had a good curve and was fast too.
Yeah, he was a good pitcher, and people don't remember that. He was a good one too.
And Dizzy did all the talking.
Yeah, that's right. What about the 1933 World Series, the All-Star game? John McGraw was the manager then, right?
John McGraw managed the Nationals and Connie Mack the Americans.
Now, what I heard about was that Connie Mack kind of took the whole game seriously, and John McGraw thought of it as just kind of a dream game and was kind of give everybody a chance to play. Is that how you remember?
It don't seem that way, because I played the whole 9 innings.
You did?
I played the whole game.
That's why I read that somewhere. That's why I'm here talking to you, Wally. You got to put me straight.
For the simple reason, there's 2 left-handers going to pitch in that game, starting with Lefty Gomez and Crowder, a good right-hander, a good curveball pitcher. It'd be in the middle innings, and Lefty Grove wind up. So McGraw kept me in there, kind of those 2 left-handers.
I see.
And I hit the ball hard. I never got a hit, but I read the paper where it says someone robbed Ruth of robbed somebody in right field. I hit the ball in right field, but they'd taken Ruth out of there, and Ben Chapman was playing right, and he made a shoestring catch off a ball I hit off a Grove.
Oh, my.
And that took an extra base hit away from me.
So I guess you can compare, like when you're talking about Lefty Grove, they said he was there any distinction between let's say the fastball at Dazzy Vance, Dizzy Dean, and Lefty
Well,
Grove?
being left-handed is one thing, and the other is right-handed. Grove never threw you a curve. He didn't have to. He'd overpower.
All heat, huh?
All heat. He just very bright. Like say, I heard that was a strike.
What was John McGraw like in that All-Star game then?
It happened at that time he was ill.
Oh.
And I wanted to be on that club because I wanted to hear some of those fiery speeches that McGraw could put out.
Yeah, that's what we heard about.
And he was ill, so he just made up the lineup and let it go. They died not long after that.
Remember a pitcher for the Dodgers named Van Lingo Mungo?
Sure do.
Why is he? I don't know a lot about him. My dad
wrote a song about it.
Yeah, there was a song about it. What was so significant about him? Was he?
Well, he had a good fastball and had a good curve. And he never knocked anybody down either. I'm glad they didn't.
He didn't last too long, though, did he?
Yeah, he pitched there probably 7 or 8 years.
Oh, that's
yeah, I remember hitting a home run off of him. He must have eased up.
Okay, let's talk about 1935. There's a lot of significance in that year, not only because you led the league in home runs and RBIs that year, but also there was a guy in your team by the name of George Herman Babe something or other, Babe Ruth. What do you recall? Now I heard that he hit a home run in his first at bat with the Braves against Carl Hubble. True or false?
That is true.
In his first at bat?
Yeah, in the opening game.
That must have been just incredible.
Well, Bill Cherry, a great first baseman, is playing there, and he's playing out in the grass. and Ruth hit a line drive about 3 feet off the ground. I think old Terry just howdy-doed it. He didn't challenge it. And then Ruth says, I'm going to hit one at the left field, which was a good drive, too. Good drive. And he went to poke one over that head. I think he hit that one out. No, he didn't. Not that one.
Yeah, he got one home run. I think he did get a single that game.
Single,
I think he did get 2 hits that game. You were there, of course, now during that period, I heard that the owner of the club was Judge Fuchs.
Fuchs, yeah.
And apparently there was just some kind of running debate between him and the Babe, and whether he should retire, or whether he was getting paid enough money, or he had. Well, was there a lot of ill feelings between the ownership and the Babe during his short stay with the Braves?
They promised Babe the manager's job, and Bill McKechnie was well liked, and it caused a problem with Judge Fuchs. You know what they'll do, and he wanted Babe to play to draw crowds. So he said, we'll just play on Saturday and Sunday, you know. Babe, he didn't like that idea either. Well, Babe had a couple of bum knees and a couple of bum ankles. He didn't want to play anymore. And I remember when I played center and he played left, anytime the ball hit over that way, I charged over to back him up because he couldn't turn or anything.
Yeah.
So we played Holy Cross the day before opening day. Holy Cross in Worcester, only about 40 miles away. And I was in a 60-cylinder Cadillac, and he's arguing with the judge. I got a ride back to Boston. And the judge wanted to put some money into the club. I guess the judge is kind of low in finances.
Yeah.
And the Babe says, I take, I don't put. I never forget that. He's going 90 miles an hour, he's talking with his hands.
Was he driving?
Yeah. I was getting worried. I looked at that speed on this big Cadillac. I way in the back seat about a mile away. And I looked over his shoulder. I said, gee, 90 miles an hour.
They said he did live fast, though. Did you have any problems with the judge as far as your contracts go?
Yeah, I argued every year.
Every year was a big drag-down fight.
Well, yeah. Eddie Roush gave me a tip. He says, a whole lot every year. They're trying to get you cheap. This whole general principle, they ask for more money all the time.
Do you remember your highest salary?
Yeah, I got $12,500.
That was the tops, huh?
Yeah. Outside of a couple of World Series chicks.
Yeah. Okay, back to 35 then. The last week I think the Babe played, he hit an incredible 3 home runs in Forbes Field.
I was in that game too.
Tell me about those home runs. I've heard about them. And
well, I tell you, it's in Forbes Field and it's a long ways in left center. No one's ever hit over the dead center field fence. But he hit one down near the end of the stands, almost dead center, upper deck, a line drive. The first homer he hit it over everything.
Yeah, that's the first one that ever went over the roof.
The first one over the nose. Then he hit that. Then he hit these other 2 way up on the upper deck, way down there. And they were off for Guy Bush and Red Lucas, I think.
Yeah, Red Lucas started the game, and Bush was the last 2 were off. But boy, you got that all up there? You haven't looked that up recently? You remember that?
No, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'd say a thing in spring training. We used to play the Yankees every spring in St. Pete. We'd play them 9 games. And when Ruth come up in batting practice, if you're working out in the sidelines, you call time. Let's watch the big guy hit. He gave you a thrill hitting in batting practice.
Oh, yeah.
Way up high and far.
Was he a nice guy? I mean,
I liked to be around him.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you spend time off the field with him at all?
No. He had other
yeah, he was pretty much a celebrity by then,
oh,
right?
God, yeah, he was.
Yeah. What do you remember about his last day there? What happened? You know, there's a lot of talk about.
Well, this is something maybe people don't know about. The Normandy, the biggest ship at that time, was coming into New York Harbor, and they wanted Babe and the mayor and the governor all to greet this big liner of the Normandy.
Right.
He asked permission to go to New York because he was invited to be on the committee to greet the big vessel, and Judge Fuchs says no. So Ruth says, call in the press. He says, boys, this is it. This is my last day. I'm through. And that was June 3rd, 1935. I remember that date. I had a ball. And I got one of his bats.
Oh, really?
I said, Babe, can I take one of those bats out of your locker? Yeah, help yourself. And I said, it's 40 years old. It's aged. It's dark brown.
You have it here?
Yeah.
Geez, maybe we can get a shot of it a little later. That's really something else. Okay, now, here's something I want to find out about 1935 that really puzzles me, and you're the only one that can shed some light on this. I noticed during the early 30s, the Braves under the manager Bill McKechnie, right?
Yes.
Was kind of progressively getting better, and you finished 4th in 1934. You had I looked up some of these players. I wrote down their stats. Bill Urbanski had a big year in 1934, and Pinky Whitney at 3rd, and Hal Lee, I guess, played center, and you played left, right?
Oh, Hal Lee played. I played center.
Okay, well, he had 79 RBIs too, along with Pinky Whitney, and your pitching staff was Fred Frankhouse,
Yeah.
Huck Betts,
Yeah.
Ed Brandt, Bob Smith, Ben Cantwell, and Flint Rim, okay?
Yeah.
All those players, I looked at them the next year, they didn't have quite as good a years, but they were still with the team. You didn't have a big turnover, and all of a sudden, and you have your biggest year ever in the majors with leading the league in home runs and RBIs. How did you go from 4th place to last and lose 115 games in the space of the year with the same manager?
Well, that has to be, what's the word? The players are kind of down.
Apathy?
Yeah, they, see, Ruth could do what he wanted, practically. And we had rules. And the manager just kept his mouth shut, didn't say nothing, just let us play. And after a while, the games we were losing were all close games. And apathy, I guess is the word, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And
It was just an attitude problem in
it was
1935.
an attitude, yeah.
Boy, that's because, I mean, to go to
The
have
players are still there. We were playing pretty good ball,
that, yeah, same
but we
players.
were losing those two. We used to go to the ballpark kidding. What are we going to lose today? 3-2, 1-0?
Well, what about yourself, though? You
No, I'm thinking about the next year.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to do anything different. I'm going to try to get my base hits, home run,
You got him.
and that's for more money.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah. Oh, 12,500, right? Is that? But
Yeah,
that's
funny
not
part. When I was talking to the Giants, he said, "What are they doing up in that damn Boston? You getting $12,000 up there?" I said, "Why not? I had good years."
you sure
I
did.
didn't know they paid that much up there. I said, "What are you paying your guys out here? Probably."
Why did they trade you to the Giants?
I don't know. Boston needed money, maybe. They got money, and I think it was $40,000. They got a pitcher named not Glenn Gabler, one of the Gablers, and he went up there. I think they was the money they were thinking about, the $40,000 now.
The judge was getting tight in those days, huh?
Judge is a spender. He'd like to put it on big.
But he didn't spend any on you, really, did he?
No, he spent it on parties. Huh?
Okay, well, the Giants had some pretty good names in that era. Of course, Mel Ott comes to mind, and
Hank Lieber.
Hank Lieber. Tell me about the shortstop, Dick Bartell. I don't know a lot about him, but I heard he was a good ball player.
Yes, he was very good. Very good. He was a good infielder. Lots of life, lots of pep. Hustled all the time. He's a Charlie Hustle guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good.
And who was this pitcher they had named Cliff Melton?
Big left-hander, about 6'4" or 5", yeah. Threw fastballs,
Did he?
mostly. Yeah, he was one of our best pitchers, outside of Hubble.
Okay, well, that kind of gets us over to 1938, and you went to Cincinnati during the season of 1938, and they had this rookie that came up that was an incredible rookie, Frank McCormick. What do you remember about Frank McCormick?
Well, he's a big guy, 6'4", right-hand hitter, hit real good. Yeah, he was a good batter. And, of course, McCormick had Ernie Lombardi hitting behind him, which the pitchers feared.
Oh,
So I'd
got
say
it.
McCormick's going to get better balls to hit than what that other guy coming up.
You brought up Lombardi. Now, my dad saw Lombardi playing, and he told me that they played way back in the grass. I've heard
They
that.
did.
How far back did they
I would
actually?
say they're about 10 feet on the grass.
10 feet back on the grass.
They have an outfielder's throw then.
Yeah. Boy, he must have really been
He's
some
very
kind
slow, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he must have been. He was a great hitter. He led the league in hitting.
Yeah, he's a hell of a good hitter.
That's incredible.
And a great guy, yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Now, I heard that the Cincinnati team, like in '37, kind of in '38, they kind of sensed that they were a good team. Could you sense that you were on a ball club that was destined to go to the World Series?
Yeah, I thought so. They were good ball players. They all hustled like hell. We had McCormick in first and Lonnie Fry at second, Billy Myers in short. Then we got Billy Werber. I think he was in the American League at third, and Ivor Goodman played right. I played center and left, and we had
Harry Kraft, was he the
Harry
center?
Kraft, he played center.
Was he, I heard he was an outstanding center fielder.
He was very good, yeah.
Is that why you were moved to left then, because he was such a good center fielder?
I'm not taking anything away from myself. I could play that center field. But
you thought of yourself,
he was younger.
Yeah, you thought of yourself more as a center fielder, didn't you?
Yeah.
Than a left fielder. Were you there? Of course, 1938 spelled the beginning of night baseball. Were you there during Vandermeer's no-hitters?
I played both of them.
You played, okay.
One in Boston and one in Brooklyn.
Okay, the first one was in Brooklyn, right?
First one was
the first night game in Brooklyn, right?
The first no-hitter pitch was in Cincinnati. Against the Braves.
Oh, that was in Cincinnati. The second one was in Brooklyn.
Next one in Brooklyn.
Okay. Tell me, I heard he was really exceptionally wild during those no-hitters.
Yeah, I think he walked 9 guys in that second no-hitter.
Yeah.
It was streaming on all the time, but big plays got him out of the jam.
Was there something about the fact of the night game that had an effect on the hitters, you know, playing in one of those early, they couldn't have had very good lights during those days?
They weren't bad lights. No, they weren't too bad. You see the ball good, but you don't judge speed. At night, everything looks faster.
How did you do playing night ball yourself compared to day?
I played better in the day.
You did?
Yeah.
Was that pretty much the norm? Did the hitters hit better during the day, do you think?
I don't know about the other guys, but I did. I remember going down when I got out of the league and went back to the minors. I was in Indianapolis and we were playing in, I don't know which park, Louisville or something. Big Parmalee was pitching and he's fast. Well, at night I couldn't hit him, but in the daytime I get 3 hits off him. So the difference in the speed, see,
substantial.
that ball would be by me at night.
Right.
And in the daytime I'd see a good reflection from the ground and everything else.
Okay, that second no-hitter, did your teammates and yourself sense that there was something, were you thinking about the back-to-back no-hitters?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like something that you forgot about.
We were thinking about it. Yeah, we were thinking about it.
Were you out in the field?
Yeah, I was playing.
Did you make any catches that might have saved his no-hitter? That you recall?
The center fielder did, or I was playing left. The center fielder made a shoestring catch. I think Lonnie Fry made a good catch at the infield, ground ball. And they left a lot of men on bases.
Okay, that brings us to 1939, and now looking at the statistics, I mean, I didn't see any one of your years, with the exception of 1939, that could be really considered an off year. But you only, I think you only hit like 14 home runs that year, drove home 44. What happened? I think hit 258. What happened in 1939?
I might have tried too hard, maybe. You know,
with a new team?
Yeah, I was trying too hard, I guess. I felt good at the plate, but I just...
No injuries or anything there?
No, I was all right.
But that was a...
Just an off year.
But that was a team, though, that you had around you, though, that you could... If you had done that with the Braves, they might have lost 150 games, right?
I don't know.
You were there. What do you recall about the World Series of 1939? What comes to mind? You played in that series, right?
Yeah, that was the Reds, Cincinnati Reds.
Right. You remember Monty Pearson's near no-hitter?
I remember hitting against him. Yeah, he was a good fastball pitcher. They didn't fool me. I said to the boys, I wish these pitchers were in our league. I could hit them. I said they're pitching high curves and things like that, which is a sin in the National League.
You went 0 for 15, though, in that series. What happened? Did you hit the ball hard, though, right?
I did good.
Oh, my.
Made the last shot when the World Series, and Crissetti went way up in the air on my line drive.
Oh.
Hit his glove, bounced him, he caught it coming back down. I just couldn't buy a hit.
Did you hit some deep flies in Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I hit a long one to Selkirk, left center. Yeah, I hit the ball good.
Yeah.
If any luck, I had 7 hits. I mean, everything broke for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. What do you played against Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah.
In that series, what do you recall about the Yankee
I remember when he
Clipper?
first come up. Yeah. He looked very good. Yeah. He glided out in the outfield.
That's what we heard. Yeah.
Yeah. He just glide, and you don't think he's motoring, but he's making a lot of time. Yeah. He's a guy could hit that curveball and everything. He didn't try to kill it, but he had the power. And I think we got him out pretty good, but we had guys like Keller and guys that might hurt us.
Yeah, well, wasn't it King Kong Keller that ran over Ernie Lombardi?
Yeah, Lombardi's laid at home plate and they're all stepping on him.
I heard there was, in the very first game of that World Series, I was reading up on that World Series, and they said there was a fly ball that dropped in the 9th inning of that game. I wonder if that was anywhere near you, or was that...
No, that was the right fielder and center fielder said hello to each other. How do you do?
Oh.
And it dropped in, yeah.
Because I think it was...
I learned one thing. If I'm a center fielder, I'm the captain. And I'll go for that ball, and they better get out of my way because I'll run right over them.
But it didn't happen. Now, was Harry Kraft playing center then?
Harry Kraft and Iowa Goodman were the bad boys.
And they said that was the first game where that kind of took the wind out of your guys' sails, and you end up losing 4 straight to the Yanks.
No, we won one. We won one in Cincinnati.
The record says 4 straight.
We really won 4 straight.
Yeah, that you probably figured you should have won that first game. Were you with Cincinnati in 1940 when their catcher Willard Hirschberger committed suicide?
I was on the club to start the year with it. I was in Indianapolis when that happened.
Oh, you weren't with the big club.
We felt it was going to happen because he was what do you call it, hypochondriac or something.
Oh, yeah?
Worried about his health. He go on the road, he had atomizers and pills and everything.
Yeah.
And he didn't come out to the ballpark with us, and the manager called the hotel immediately, check Hirschberger's room, because he and McKechnie knew that guy allowed to do something like that.
Yeah.
And here he was. He cut his throat and was laying on the bathtub, bleeding to death.
Somebody said that he had a meeting with McKechnie that night, the night before he died. That something that they never were able to get McKechnie to admit what was said to him, but apparently a lot of the players in the lobby saw him with tears in his eyes after McKechnie had talked to him. Did you hear that story at all?
No.
Yeah, that's just...
I wasn't there then.
Talking about one of your pitchers, Ben Cantwell, he was a really good pitcher in the early 30s. What happened after 1933? He seemed to go downhill as a pitcher. Do you recall Bill Cantwell?
Yeah, well, Ben Cantwell was one of our better pitchers. He's a guy with great control, curveball pitcher. He pitched, in that year we had that bad year, he pitched good ball. But he'd lose 2-1, 1-0, those kind of game.
Yeah.
And we didn't make any runs for him.
But nothing happened to his arm at all?
No, he was all right.
I also read that you went on some barnstorming tours in the early 30s and played with some of the guys like the Wainer brothers and Bill Terry and Leo DeRocher.
No, I didn't. Didn't play with any of them.
You didn't, huh?
I've been on barnstorming trips, but none of those fellows.
Geez, I read in a book where somebody said you did, and that's why I wanted to check with you.
No, I didn't.
Who were some of the guys that you did go barnstorming with?
Well, Ed Brandt, a pitcher, and not many. The fellows that played in that Utah-Idaho League, that's when we barnstormed through Salt Lake, Ogden, and Pocatello. And
that was during the off season, right? For those people that don't know.
We were allowed 30 games, 30 days to play after the season.
Yeah.
And I played beyond that one time, and I heard from Judge Landis. And I got proof. I got the wire.
Oh, yeah? You saved that?
I got it someplace. He said you wouldn't pass the time, you're going to be fined $250 and all the money you made. I said to Haney, now you got to get me out of this. And he says to the secretary, take a letter. Dear Judge. I said, I don't know him that way. He says, he'll love it. And he said, Dear Judge, we played down in Long Beach Shell Company. I made $1.65 and stuff like that. Never heard from the judge.
Now, I heard that the outfielders used to leave their gloves in the field.
Yeah, they did.
Is that true? I
Yeah.
mean, now, explain that to me.
Never carried them, man. Never did.
You left them out in the outfield?
Yeah.
And what happens with do you ever step on another player's glove or anything?
I never have in all the years I played.
Where would you leave it? I mean, near the wall?
No, I left my right behind shortstop. Far enough that he wouldn't step in and go back for a pop fly. And in it far enough you're away from the outfield.
So all 3 outfielders would leave their gloves out there.
You put them right down. Superstitious, you turn your fingers towards the fence and say, I'm going to hit one over that way.
Oh, that's what superstitions. Do you have any superstitions yourself?
Not many, if I had any.
When did they stop leaving the gloves in the outfield? Was that when you ended your career in 1940? Did they still?
I think they stopped doing it then. We would have to bring them into the dugout. Then you ask one of the players to bring out my glove when you come out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way you
I
can
never
find
seen
out.
a guy fall over one or trip on one.
Never?
Never in all the games I played.
With 3 gloves out there, I think, you know, you look at baseball today and you see people, the outfielders running all over the place. You think they would...
Maybe they fall on a buttercup.
Maybe. Speaking about baseball today, what do you think about the game? And we're in the 1980s now, and here you're from the era of the 30s and 40s. What's the big difference that comes to your mind, the way you see baseball played today and when you played during your era?
Well, I don't think there's a great big difference for. An exception, but we had great players.
How would Ozzie Smith compare to Rabbit Moranville?
Well, I saw Rabbit when he was old.
Yeah, that's true. He was past
He
his
was
prime
around
then.
near 40.
Yeah.
Now, they call him Rabbit. He must have been a little quick, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how he compare with Rabbit.
But on the whole, though, what do you think about artificial surfaces and the designated hitter and some of those things that were
I
just...
don't like either one.
No. Good, neither do I. That designated hitter takes a lot of strategy.
That turf, my God, Rose is always bouncing the ball on it.
Yeah.
And in the hot weather towns like St. Louis and Cincinnati, it gets 140 on that rug.
Yeah.
They must be wearing asbestos insoles. You burn your feet.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, 100. Vince Scully showed the thermometer one day it was over 120.
Yeah, no, that's right. It does get hot down there. Why? Your last year was 1940. It seemed like you were still having real productive years. Why did you retire at such an early age?
I didn't retire. I got released.
They released you.
Yeah.
Boy, that's just nobody.
Give me 2 weeks' pay. Said, nice
Did you
doing.
try to hook on with any other teams?
Well, I tried. Yeah, I went to Pittsburgh spring training, but they weren't interested.
They weren't. Did you have any kind of a spring training with them, or?
No, I just went out there and worked out a little bit. I wasn't too interested anymore.
So what happened after you retired? What was the? I heard you stayed around in baseball for a while.
Yeah, I scouted for a couple of years for the Yankees out of Chicago. Then they asked me to go to Manchester in the New England League, manage that club, which I did, folded up. After a couple of months of the season, it folded up. Then they asked me if I was on the way home would stop at Grand Forks in the Northern League, and they fired the manager and said, take that one over.
Oh, so you managed then?
Yeah, then the next year I managed Twin Falls in the Pioneer League. And I threw a newspaper guy out of the clubhouse because he was writing a lot of things I didn't like. And then, of course, the Yankees get all this stuff from the newspapers in all those towns.
Yeah.
They know what's going on.
Did you, as a scout or as a minor league manager, did you discover any big talent that ultimately went up to the Yankees?
No. We had a limit to what we could offer a guy.
Yeah.
We could offer him $8,000, and that's it. Otherwise, it had to be a home office and about 2 or 3 other scouts looking at the guy.
Yeah. When did you finally get out of baseball?
Oh, I finally got tired, and I got a job at Northrop Corporation and over in Linwood. I worked there 13 years till we moved to Mariposa, on the street down there. And I went to work for Northrop University. That's in your area.
Yeah.
I worked there for 8 years.
Is that where you retired?
Yeah.
How long you been retired now?
9 years.
By the way, on October 10th of 1985, you're going to be 80 years old, right, Wally?
Ain't that awful?
I'll tell you, you're looking great. I hope I'm just around here talking when I'm that age.
I wish I felt as good.
Wally, it's been a real pleasure. And the only other thing I'd really like to do is if you had any, I'd love to see that Babe Ruth bat or any other memorabilia you have. I have, I don't have it right here, but my baseball card. I've got your 1935 baseball card. And do you have one of your old bats too?
Yeah,
well, we got to see a Wally Berger bat too. Okay. Okay, and now I'm talking this beautiful young lady here between Wally and myself is Martha Berger, who's been married to Wally for 40 years. And I guess you married Wally after his big playing days with the Braves, so you didn't marry him for stardom, huh?
Definitely not.
Well, he sure looks in great shape he's going to be 80 years old in a couple of months, huh?
Yes, right, in October.
Boy, that's amazing. And we've got some of Wally's bats here. Have you ever tried to pick these up, Martha?
Oh, yes, I have to dust them occasionally.
Where do you keep these in the house?
Well, we have a little spot there on the wall. You can take a look at it later.
Okay, if you take a look at that, this bat that I'm holding in my right hand was used by George Herman Babe Ruth, like I said, Wally Berger's teammate in 1935. And when you look at this bat and the age of it, you know, just the fact that you can see that it's got 40, 50 years of age on it, because I've seen new bats. Were these white bats, Wally, when they were original?
Yeah, they're light-colored, yellowish bats.
So it's just been the age that's done this.
This they age like that, you know.
Okay, now this other bat here, if you notice, is a much bigger bat. It's, how long is it, Wally?
35 and a half.
35 and a half inches, 38 ounces. This is the famous, and you won't be able to pick these up in your local sporting goods store. This is the Wally Berger model that Wally used as a power-hitting slugger for the Boston Braves. And, I mean, those are impressive pieces of lumber and really a total piece of history.
Yeah,
They never broke my bats, the other guys. They wouldn't use them. They'd pick them up and throw them down.
Oh, they couldn't use them. They couldn't use them. Well, I think that the two of you are very, very fortunate to be in such good health. I know Wally's got a little arthritis and everything, but you seem to be enjoying your life here in Manhattan Beach.
Oh, we love it.
Yes, it's our town.
Yeah.
Well, you've been really gracious to invite us here to your home and let us talk with Wally here about reminiscing about baseball. Are you a baseball fan, Martha, at all?
Oh, yes, all sports, really.
All sports?
Yes. That's why we moved to the beach, because we liked to swim years ago.
Yeah.
But sports, we like a lot of sports.
Well, it's really good having you here. And also, I'm told that you're going to be working now in our own town of El Segundo soon.
Isn't that nice?
How soon will that be?
I assume about the first of the year.
Is
Oh,
that
great.
Virginia Street it's on?
There is a Virginia Street
Virginia
there.
and Grand?
It's right on to be about, what, 3 doors west of that bakery there.
Okay, well, good. Well, it's good. It's welcome to our town. This is El Segundo Community Cable, and our neighbors here, literally and figuratively, the Bergers from Manhattan Beach. Like I said, were gracious enough to invite us down here, and we were able to talk over some old memories with Wally, and it's really been a pleasure. It's really been a lot of fun. And if you don't mind, we'd like to maybe do this again next year.
Be fine.
Would that be okay
I'm
with
still
you?
around,
we'll
yeah.
Oh, Wally, you're going to be here. I'll tell you, old sluggers never die. You know?
Right.
Well, this is really something.
Okay,
Once again, these huge bats. These
You can see where I hit some.
That's right.
Not a good spot.
That's right. That was a
That's a
pop
little
up
better.
to third, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, Martha and Wally Berger, thank you once again for having us over here, and we'll be seeing you soon. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, that'll about do it here from Manhattan Beach. I'm Dave Siemienski for Channel 27, and like we said, this is El Segundo Sports Channel for you, but we were able to just go just a couple of miles into Manhattan Beach and find one of the living legends in the game of baseball in Wally Berger, and what a complete pleasure it was for me personally, and hopefully for you at home there that enjoy baseball. So from Channel 27, this is Dave Siemienski saying have a good day. Welcome to Channel 22's Sports Special. I'm Dave Siemienski, and it's going to be my distinct pleasure today to speak to one of the NBA basketball greats. And it was several years ago that I was able to have a conversation with Wally Berger, who was a great player for Major League Baseball. And in our capacity as sports announcers here at Channel 22, occasionally we're able to find athletes in the area. Wally Berger happened to be living in Manhattan Beach, and I found out that Willy Naulls was in Hawthorne. He's got a ministry there. I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to talk to Willy right here in studio, but I want to outline his career very briefly so you can understand where this gentleman has been throughout the years. He was born in Dallas, Texas. He grew up in San Pedro. He was the LA City Player of the Year in baseball in 1951.
He was the LA City Player of the Year in basketball in 1952. Then he went to UCLA. John Wooden recruited him. And in 1956, he was the most valuable player for the basketball team for the Bruins. He had the highest academic award in basketball for UCLA in 1955 and 1956. So this was not just your traditional athlete. He was drafted by the St. Louis Hawks in the NBA in 1956. He was just quickly traded to the New York Knicks, and we'll get into that little story. He played 7 years with the New York Knicks, went briefly to the San Francisco Warriors, and then ended his career with the Boston Celtics, played under 3 championship teams in the Boston Celtics from 1963 to 1966. He was also the assistant basketball coach for John Wooden, 1966-67, the NCAA champions, I might add, 30-0. He founded Willy Naulls Enterprises. He was also with Concerned Parents of America. He was the head basketball coach for a while at Westlake School for Girls in 1979 and 80. And then I think you can see somewhere during that period, Willie found time to start a family with a wife, his wife Ann. They have 4 incredible children, very successful, 2 girls and 2 boys. He was in banking organization and a director. He was in real estate development. He was a consultant for corporations like 7-Eleven and Adidas. He was in Rosie Greer's Are You Committed? He was in LA Action with clothing. So he was a businessman of high renown. LA Action was the clothing part. The Right Stuff Incorporated was gift items. Then he was with Chafee Motors. He had his own Ford dealership. Hallelujah Enterprises was at advertising and marketing. So this man went from basketball to business very easily. But throughout this, he was very concerned in his volunteer capacity with young people. That seems to be a common thread through Willie Naulls' career and his life. He had the San Pedro Boys Club, LA Recreation and Youth Services, the YMCA Christian, the Crenshaw Christian Men's Fellowship. He was with Rosie Greer's Giant Step Program, the American Sickle Cell Foundation. I mean, I can't name possibly everything that he was. Maurice Stokes Benefit Games, the Volunteer Veterans and Children's Hospital, constant appearances by Willie Naulls, religious benefits. Then you can see the sort of the evolution here, where he was ordained a Christian pastor on December 19th, 1993. Then he founded the Willie Naulls Ministries nonprofit corporation, September of 1993, and that's where I found Willie Naulls in his ministry in Hawthorne, and now he's in El Segundo. Willie, welcome to sports in El Segundo, and I can't wait to get into your career and how we got to the point we are, and I do want to talk at the very end of our show about your ministry, but welcome to your neighbor here in El Segundo.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's a pleasure being here.
When I talked to you initially, you said I was kind of dating myself when I told you we were my idol when I was, you know, growing up. But Willie Naulls meant a lot to me, and I'm always wondering if young people that you talk to in your ministry today understand really who Willie Naulls is. That little bio I just did doesn't do justice. I want to get into some of the very interesting things about your life. Let's go back to San Pedro High School. Was there any coach there or anybody in your academic career that was influential before you got to college?
Well, the most influential person, I guess, in my life then was my 7th grade English teacher, Mrs. Woodard. She saw something in me and talked to me directly as a person. And I was bigger than everybody, and we were very poor. And she taught me the rules of grammar. She introduced me to reading books. And I got more into myself at that point, so she was very important. I had a good coach, too, Coach Bob Bell. Taught me how to rebound. He was from the University of Utah, and he taught me how to rebound.
Taught you well.
And so that served me well during my career.
Now, I was told that John Wooden actually came to watch you play in high school, and he recruited you with his rolled-up program and everything to go to UCLA.
Yeah, Coach came to the city finals my senior year, and he also spoke at our banquet. But he was right behind the backboard. Every time I shot a free throw, I'd see him with his program rolled up, and he'd wave to me. And then he simply told me that I'd like very much for you to come to my school. I think you're a very fine young man. He said, I think you're a very fine athlete, and I'd like for you to come to my school.
Was there any other choices for you? Were you recruited by other people? Did you consider anything else but UCLA?
Yeah, I was going to Berkeley, up to UC Berkeley. They had a fine team up there with a guy named Bob McKean, Bob Matheny. I mean, I think we probably would have won the national championship. with that team because they had a really fine team, great athletes, and most of them were juniors, and I was going to be a freshman. But I was committed to coach because of who he is, and the impression he made on me was that he thought more of me than just an athlete also.
Well, let's get into that, Willie. The national championship were to follow more than 10 years later, but did you see the foundation being built there? Was there any sort of foreshadowing of what was to come? I mean, was John Wooden the great respected coach at that time, and did you see the greatness that was to follow?
Well, the foundation for winning is, first of all, attitude and a commitment to excellence. And so, yes, that was the foundation. Coach Wooden lived a very, very high standard life in front of us. He never swore. He was very organized. He was at practice on time. He expected us to be on time. He expected us to give our best at all times. And he demanded the best out of you. And he was a tremendous judge of talent, so he put more pressure on people he thought had more talent, so he pushed everybody to their limits. But it was very subtle and very gentle, and you wanted to do your best for him because he was our father, a very spiritual man. And so he was really on my case all the time in sports. And there was a couple of times I was going to hit him right in his mouth because he'd come right up in your face, and he'd always catch at the time.
How could he get to your face? Well, what, did he stand on a chair? What did he do?
He would, I remember once I made a blunder, and because I wasn't concentrating on what I'd done, that's when he always nabbed you. And so he blew his whistle, and everybody stops, and there's silence. So he walked all the way around the gym, and he came right up to my face. He said, "Gracious sakes alive, Willie, you're certainly big enough to hold up to the ball." You know, and so that to me, that was like someone screaming or swearing at you, because
Gracious sakes alive.
yeah, you knew he was right. You see, so that was the foundation. The coach's philosophy. I mean, he could coach right now. His body's failing him, but he still has his mind, and it's still the spirit of John Wooden.
I think we can see, a lot of us here in the public can see the people that have come through this program, yourself included, and I happen to be privileged to play for George Stanich, who played under John Wooden. I know what you mean about that spiritual nature, because Coach Stanich had that too. And was there something spiritually that ultimately led you to where you are that you can attribute to John Wooden?
Well, my family was, my mother was a very spiritual woman, and so I grew up with that as the basis in the Baptist home, in the Southern Baptist home. And I left home, and I thought I was getting away from it, and I go to UCLA, and here I got Coach Wooden,
Right.
who is, he doesn't preach a sermon, but he preaches. And his lifestyle and his life story is a sermon of the right way of doing things. And to be, some of the things he taught us was to...
Did he teach you the pyramids of success? Did he have that at that time?
Mm-hmm. Pyramid of success, he taught us that you respect the enemy, but you don't fear him. And you prepare yourself first to do your best, and if you're not prepared, you can't do your best. So you have to look at yourself in the mirror to see whether or not you're prepared, because only you know if you're prepared and you're really pushing yourself and you are living a good life off the court, so that you are still prepared to participate when it comes time to play. And his definition was success comes through the peace of mind and knowing that you are doing your best to be the best you can be. And my definition, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember exact words, but my definition of success evolved to be success comes through the grace and peace of God, and knowing that you're preparing yourself at all times to do your best at any time. And for me, it's in Christ who empowers me. So he lived what I say. He never imposed Christianity on the boys on the team, but he lived a Christian life in front of us, so you see. So he was a perfect example of what a corporate executive should be. He defined what a man should do. Once you take a job and you have a job description, you should do the best that you can. And Coach would have been successful in anything he attempted.
Well, he was successful at producing basketball players for sure, and teams. And in 1956, you were drafted by the St. Louis Hawks. Now, Did the coach give you any advice? Did you anticipate, you know, an NBA career, and did he advise you in any way as far as going on to the pros?
Well, it was there was very little alternatives. As a matter of fact, there was no alternative. Once you were drafted by somebody, they owned the rights to you, and so you had no choice. So I went to him and talked to him about it, yes, and he told me. I told him how much money they offered me, and he said that you know, you can either stay home or you want to try a pro career. He said, I think that you'd be wise so that you don't have to think about later, wondering whether or not you made a mistake. And so he gave me good advice. And I went and played for 10 years.
Interesting story, though, about how you got into the NBA. The New York Knicks really wanted you, apparently. They skipped over in the first round for some reason, but as I understand the story, and I don't know if you know the background of it, but I know that the St. Louis Hawks wanted Slater Martin as their point guard at the time. But the team that he was on was in their own conference, and they didn't want to do that. So he went to the Knicks. You went to the Knicks in place for Slater Martin coming to the Hawks. Isn't that pretty much how the story went?
Yeah, there was a deal cut by the owners, and Red Auerbach got Bill Russell and Casey Jones. Slater Martin was to come to the Hawks. I was going to go to the Knicks. And so they drafted within themselves, and after a few weeks, everybody ended up where they're supposed to be.
That's right. You were supposed to be. Did you know this was going on behind the scenes?
No.
No.
I found out later.
But it all seemed to turn out well because you went to the Knicks, and Slater Martin went to the Hawks. They had a good season. Now, there was also Walter Dukes figured in that deal somehow, didn't he? Did you?
No, he wasn't involved.
He wasn't involved?
I was to be the first draft choice of the Knicks, and the only way they could work it out is so everyone's satisfied, and Slater Martin had come from the Lakers, I guess.
Right, he came from the Lakers somehow.
So I guess you have to talk to one of the owners.
I'll find out, and I'll let you know, Willie, okay? I want to talk about some of your New York Knicks teammates, okay? The fact that you played with Johnny Green, I've told you before, I mean, this is nothing away from you, Willie, but this guy could jump. I mean, he was shorter than you, correct?
Johnny was 6'5", call him Jumping Johnny Green. He earned his reputation. I have a bone to pick with Johnny right now.
Let's hear it. Come on, get it out. You're talking about my idol now, Johnny Green.
Johnny Green probably cut my scoring average by 8-10 points a game. Because when I would shoot, he would jump up in front of the basket with his left hand, grab the ball.
He was left-handed.
So I'm 0 for 1 shooting, right?
Right.
He would dunk the ball. So now he's 1 for 1. Plus he got a rebound. That's the way they scored in those days.
That's right, that's right.
And I'm 0 for 1. I figured if I shot, he also cut my shooting percentage down. They took my shooting percentage down. So I told him a few times, but I mean, of course you don't get into that thing, but we used to laugh about it all the time, but he would go up and grab my shot, not only my shot, but other guys too, and dunk it in the basket.
Yeah.
And so they changed the scoring, so you can't fool around with the ball if they're around the rim. You can't go up there and fool with the ball, and that's what he did.
Now, I was told that he set some kind of a record of dunks in 1 minute. Did you ever hear about that record?
Yeah, we used to compete in that. He'd always win.
Yeah.
So
because he could get up so quickly. You know, he's kind of the forerunner of Dennis Rodman. He was a quick, not only a great jumper, but a quick jumper. He could get up real quick.
Well, Johnny would go up, and he would dunk the ball and catch it on his way down. Then he'd hit the floor and go right back up again, and dunk it and catch it. So he just, no one can come close to him.
Now, you were known for your beautiful touch shooting the ball. You shot over 81% for the free throw line for your career. But you're a great shooter. Do you ever wonder about what you would have done with a three-point shot? Didn't you have that kind of range?
I think probably the majority of my shots were in the three-point range. Most of my shooting was outside in that perimeter.
That's why you were my idol. That's why I practiced my outside shooting, because of you. I thought a big man that could shoot outside was a big advantage, because they'd back off on you, wouldn't they? Well, not on you, but on me they would, thinking I couldn't shoot, but I learned to shoot. But it was because of big men like yourself that shot outside. I loved the way the ball came off your fingers.
Well, that's something we learned at UCLA. Coach, we practiced it every day. He wanted us to shoot off the backboard from certain angles. But I shot mostly the top of the key and around the circle.
Right. You were top of the key. That was just a deadly spot for you.
So that was many years ago. I'm always shocked when people remember
Oh, yeah.
basketball back there. But
Oh, I remember it
it
very
was a long time ago.
Now, you know, it was a long time ago, and because it's the 50-year anniversary now of the NBA, and they're talking about it's a big thing now on all the NBA shows. And here you are, you were playing at year 10, so right at the kind of one of the pioneers, believe it or not, of NBA basketball. And they were playing in small towns like Rochester and Syracuse. This wasn't, did you play in Madison Square Garden? Did all your games play in Madison Square Garden? I was told that they sometimes had conflicts of other events there in New York. Were you always in Madison Square Garden?
Well, New York is the Big Apple, and most of our games were 17,505, which was the capacity of Madison Square Garden at the time. But there was an occasion, matter of fact, a playoff game. We played at the 69th Regimental Armory, which was because they had a circus.
There was a circus in town, yeah, right. And so the NBA got pushed out.
That's right.
For the circus.
Right. Yeah, it was a good time though. The NBA, it was in its growing stages then, and it was the foundation of what we have today, because once they started taking players in based on their ability to play, then they brought in the schoolyard, because all those guys, there was a league called the Eastern League, and the better players are in the Eastern League.
You anticipated my next question, Willie. Tell me about the racial barriers as they exist in the early 50s. I mean, we know the NBA game today, you know, the bulk of it made up African American, but at the time in the 50s, it was almost mostly white. You were one of the first African Americans to play in the NBA. I mean, among the first, what, 10 or 20, right?
Well, I think when I first started, there were just a handful of guys. Bill Russell was a guy with Philadelphia.
He came in like 56, didn't he, right with you?
Same time, yeah. He went to the Olympics, and he came in 17 games or so into the season. But there was definitely a discriminating factor, and race entered into it. We were very fortunate. I mean, I was a part of the whole change. I mean, I remember going to a senior in college, going to Louisville, Kentucky, to play in the Kentucky Christmas tournament. We were the first integrated team to stay in this hotel. They put us in the bottom of a basement. And we were the first integrated team to go to the movie theater in town. When I went with the Hawks, we went on a trip on a bus to go someplace to play someplace, and we stopped in this little town. I'll never forget it. And the coach was Red Holzman, and he went to talk to the people and said, well, bring him in. So we all went in the side door into our rooms, and we left before anybody got up in the town the next morning. So it definitely was a racial situation that fortunately has turned itself around in competition and making the almighty dollar.
Ah, that's what did it finally, huh?
Yeah. You see, Bill Russell, they were playing an exhibition game when I was with the Knicks. They played an exhibition game down in North Carolina someplace, and they said that the players were staying in the hotel, but they couldn't eat in the restaurant. So Russell got on the airplane and went home. And they had to cancel the game because the other guys went home. So that stopped it. Just that one day, and it was an exhibition game.
Yeah, he had that kind of clout, huh?
Yeah.
Let's talk about just quickly some of the other stars of your era. Bob Pettit was big at that time, George Yardley, Dolph Schayes, right? Were those the big names when you came into the NBA? I mean, like I said, before Russell really got there?
Mm-hmm. Bob Pettit was on my team, St. Louis. He was a star.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did even play with Bob Pettit at that time.
He was a forward, and I played the other forward with a guy named Charlie.
How about Cliff Hagan? Where did Cliff Hagan play?
Hagan came from Boston with Easy Ed McCauley. Those two guys came from Boston as a part of that trade. Clayton Martin came from the Lakers, and Cliff Hagan and Easy Ed McCauley came from Boston. So Russell, Casey Jones and Casey was supposed to be in St. Louis, now that I remember. So he went to Boston with Russell. I went to New York. Those three guys came to St. Louis, and it was the nucleus of their championship team. It was the only year that, the first 10 years of Russell's career that they lost. They lost to St. Louis Hawks in the final.
That's right. That was when the Hawks finally got to the top. Do you remember February 7th, 1961?
I remember it.
Does that date bring anything to mind? That was the day you scored 49 points. You hit 23 out of 38 field goals, 8 out of 9 free throws, 22 rebounds, 7 assists.
Where do you find this stuff?
I told you, Willie. You were my idol. These are the NBA books that I collected as a kid, and that was what we called being in the zone, was it not?
Well,
49 points.
Did Elgin Baylor score 71 points?
Yes, he did.
Game?
Not in that game, no.
In that game? There was a game that Elgin Baylor played against us that I was in a zone, and Elgin had this, and I had this scoring thing going on, playing against each other. And the coach took me out of the game, set me down. Said, "What is this? You and Elgin are going one-on-one." And so he set me down for a whole. So he took me out of the zone on the bench. So, but there have been games that any athlete plays in when you everything is easy and everything you do kind of.
There's one game though that I want to talk to you about. It was March 2nd, 1962. And there was somebody else in the zone. You, particularly, you scored 31 points that night. And there was about 2,000 people there, I'm told. And now there's 400,000 people say they were there. But you were there, because I see the box score. But with that 31 points you scored, the guy on the other team scored 69 more points than you did. Do you remember that game? March 2nd, 1962 in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah. Will Chamberlain scored 100 points.
Oh, yeah. Will Chamberlain scored 100 points in one game, and you were there? You got to tell me something that you remember about that game with Wilt scoring 100 points. He had 28 out of 32 free throws that night, and he couldn't shoot free throws better than Shaq.
What I remember about that night is that my teammates were slowing the ball up, trying to keep him from scoring 100
Richie
points.
Guerin was slowing the ball up?
I don't remember who was doing it, but somebody was slowing the ball up, trying to keep him from scoring 100 points. And after the game, I drove back to New York with Wilt. And he has a nightclub up in Harlem called Small's Paradise. Will Chamberlain's Small Paradise. So we spent the evening together. And so that's what I remember about that game.
Spent the evening with Will Chamberlain, huh? Just hanging with Will, huh?
They're different. We did a lot of time together.
Okay, well then you're getting to my next point now. Well, I told you how important that era in basketball was to me. Well, the argument persists today. Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell. Now here's a man, you played against Wilt in that game. You later in the San Francisco Warriors played with Wilt when he averaged 44.5 points a game, not his 50.4 he averaged that year. So you know him as a teammate, you know him as an opponent. You played with Bill Russell in the championship seasons with the Boston Celtics. Now he's much more widely acclaimed, I think, as being the best player, but mostly in the context of the team sport, because Russell's had the championship. I want to know, from Willie Naulls' point of view, as a basketball player, who was the best player between Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell? And I can't think of anybody on the face of the earth that could better qualify to answer that question than you. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on you, Willie. I need to know. And I've got a friend that's going to see this tape someday that he and I argue over and over again about this question. We've got to know who's the best.
Well, it's not a hard question at all. And there's no pressure, because I refuse to compare them. How can you, first of all, today, if you go and ask 100 kids who Bill Russell was, then most of them won't know who he is. But if you ask 100 kids who Will Chamberlain is, he's got all the records in the record books. The man averaged over 50 points a game one season. When those same kids go and look at the scores of who won the most championships, Bill Russell won the most championships. Today, if they played, they'd still be giants. They're just phenomenal athletes. You just can't compare them. They're different styles. Bill was a shot blocker. Wilt was a scorer. Bill was a rebounder, but so was Wilt a rebounder. They were great Wilt
Set the NBA record, 55 rebounds.
55 rebounds. He also set a record for assists, I believe, or led the Lakers in assists. Or set a,
Right, led the league in assists, the only center to do so.
so great athlete, great attitude about wanting to win. Bill Russell just refused to lose. So you can't compare him, and it just doesn't make sense to compare. Who's the greatest?
You disappoint me, Willie. You've bailed on that question. Okay, I'll give you another chance here. We're talking about the championship. The Celtics were the team of the era, but when they picked you up, several things happened. That perpetuated the thing the Celtics were able to do, is pick up somebody that just kind of fit with their team. Even though you weren't the star, you certainly made them, you were as responsible as anybody. And you were a member of the first starting five of 5 African Americans. You, the Jones boys, Casey and Sam, you and, he goes down in the book as Tom Sanders, but you and I know him as Satch, right?
Satch.
And
Yeah.
Bill Russell. Tell me about those teams with the Celtics and what made them so great from your perspective.
Well, I think it was unity. First of all, we had Russell.
Yeah.
And he was definitely the key factor. Without him, we were just an ordinary team. I was fortunate and really blessed to be so picked up by them, because I had retired. I was into my 7th year, and I retired. I was getting ready to go back to UCLA and get some degrees and go on with my life. And Russell called me on the phone and asked me if I would come and play with him. So I'd always wanted to play with him. And with the Knicks, we didn't win very often. So I went there, and we were fortunate to win three world championships. The John Havlicek, Casey Jones, Sam Jones, Tom Sanders, Bill Russell, guys are Frank Ramsey, Jim Luskatoff, you name it. All those guys were great athletes, and they would not have done as well in their careers had it not been for the unity and having Bill Russell in the middle. As far as the first All-African American starting team, we were very aware of that. Heinsohn was starting, and I was coming off the bench when I first got to Boston. He got hurt. And so we were aware of that only because there was such a hush over the audience. We came to play against the Lakers once, and I don't remember if it was my first year, second year, but
Probably the sports arena.
played at the sports arena, and there was an absolute hush when we walked out on the floor. And we were ahead of the Lakers 40-something to 20 or 15 or something. But it wasn't because it was black against white or anything, the thing that we consciously, because we never talked about it. We just played our best. And we happened to be the best as far as Red was concerned to start for his team, and so and now it's commonplace. He started playing the best that he had, so he set the standard, you see. He started playing the best that he had, and now that's commonplace because people want to win. They don't care what color people are.
That's right. And as we've gone through your career, I think it could be very evident to people that you talk about in some of your material for your Willie Naulls ministry about your Christian upbringing and the fact that the godly development of 3 things I noticed in your brochure: spiritual, mental, and physical, are the 3 factors that you emphasize now in your Willie Naulls ministries. Is that something that evolved slowly through those years? Did you know you were going to end up there? Because as I look at your resume and how you got to the point, it's a very logical progression. I could see you were kind of getting to that point, but you've taken everything you've learned from these great team experiences, these wonderful experiences in your life. You've created not only the ministry that kind of echoes that, what you've learned, but also a family, a very successful wife who's an orthopedic surgeon, 4 successful children. You built it in your personal life, and you've also built it in the ministry. Could this have happened any other way without the background that you had?
Well, as you probably know, God is the only person who knows everything that's going on in our lives. I had no idea. I got the call to ministry about 8-10 years ago when I was driving down the freeway, and a very audible, exploding voice inside of me says, get out of business and better prepare yourself to minister my word and tell people what great things I've done in your life. And I wasn't very much of a Christian. I mean, I was not a Christian at all then. Well, I guess I was. Rosie Greer led me into this direction, into being a Christian. And so that was the call, an audible call on my life. And as it settled, this is what has evolved. I'm under the direction of God Almighty to tell people what great things He's done in my life. How you get from point A to point X. My mother told me that it's hard work. You respect people, respect your elder, you respect women. You get up earlier than anybody. Prepare yourself for what you're going to do. You work harder than anybody, work longer than anybody, and then go home and get you some rest and then come back the next day and be consistent about it. And through that, knowledge rewards itself, and you move up the system. You get more money, you're more dependable, you're more benefit to other people. You have a savings or something to tell your children. You have a standard that you pass on. And I found out that's all very Christian. It's a standard that we have that has been given to us by God in Christ. And it never changes. So therefore, I don't have to worry about ping pong ball bouncing back and forth. It's up to me. You see, that's the message of Christianity, is not to force people to feel guilty and to think that they're less than anybody who's not a Christian, but it just forces you to look at yourself and see what standards you want to set for your life. And God is the creator of us all, and I was fortunate that my mother taught us that, and I didn't know what she was talking about. And it's evolved that I've come back, and God has called me to tell them, tell the world what she told me. And Coach Wooden told me the same thing in different words. He lives it now. I know he used to go to church every Sunday. I didn't know that when I was playing for him. I didn't know that he spoke and he talks about. And then you read his literature. He talks about God all the time.
Well, we are going to put a graphic up with your phone number for the Willie Naulls Ministries in Hawthorne. And I think it's going to be beneficial to everybody that's watched this telecast to understand where you came from, what incredible vision you had by absorbing everything, all the experiences you've had, and passing it on now to another generation that can take advantage. I just want them to know, though, the incredible things you've seen, the way you led your life, and I think it's a great example, and people can benefit. So they can call you, I'm sure, at this number. Is that correct?
Sure.
Okay. Well, Willie, a great pleasure for me, and hopefully for all of El Segundo.
Okay.
Finally got to meet the legendary Willie Naulls of the New York Knicks, the UCLA Bruins, and of course the Willie Naulls Ministry. I'm Dave Siemienski for Channel 22 Sports. We'll see you next time.